Dear colleagues, the government has begun preparing the federal budget for the upcoming three-year period from 2026 to 2028. We are talking about the country's main financial document, which is aimed at addressing strategic objectives, including, of course, improving people's quality of life, developing the social sphere and infrastructure, and strengthening the state's defense capability. Preparing the budget is, as always, a very large, systematic, comprehensive, and, I would say, labor-intensive task. It is a professional, purely economic and financial process, but it is also, without a doubt, a political one, because it is necessary to coordinate all positions with the parliament and the leading factions. This work is based, first and foremost, on the forecast of socio-economic development, on the current and future situation in the real sector, including industries such as finance. Well, I won't list everything. It's clear what you are working on. Of course, it is necessary to take into account the situation in global markets as well. In this regard, today I propose that we discuss the state of affairs in the domestic economy, its main trends overall, and of course, we will pay special attention to how the federal budget is being executed this year. This year, the government and the Bank of Russia were jointly tasked with returning the Russian economy to a path of balanced growth. We know what that means. This primarily implies a reduction in inflation, while at the same time, of course, maintaining unemployment at a consistently low level. I'll say a couple of words about that as well in a moment. In this regard, an important achievement is precisely the reduction of inflation. If at the end of March it was 10.3% year on year, then by the end of June it was already 9.4%, and by the end of July it was 8.8%, right? Exactly. According to estimates by the Bank of Russia, by the end of the year, the dynamics of consumer prices may be within 6 to 7%. That is lower than previous forecasts. Yes or no? Excellent. There are signs of a decrease in the labor shortage in the labor market. According to surveys conducted by the Bank of Russia as well, the share of companies experiencing a labor shortage is decreasing, which is undoubtedly an important indicator and signal. At the same time, many experts are also talking about the emergence of risks of excessive economic cooling and even recession. We have also discussed this with you, including during our previous working meetings. We talk about this constantly with the chairperson of the bank. The bank is monitoring the situation, working including directly with enterprises and assessing the situation firsthand. As I understand it, the bank does not see any major risks at this time. However, there is still a certain increase in the number of hidden unemployed, that is, workers who are in so-called downtime, working part-time, or at risk of being laid off. At the beginning of the year, their number was about 98,000 people. By the end of June, it was 153,000, and as of August 8th, it had already reached 199,000 people. There has also been a slight increase in the number of registered unemployed. If at the beginning of the year it was about 274,000 people, by the end of June it was already 291,000, and at the beginning of August, 300,000. But still, it remains at a record low level for us. What is it now?
2.2.
2.2%. Well, that's practically a historic low. But still, we need to be aware of the trends, catch them, and respond accordingly so as not to allow, as we said at the beginning of the year, an economic slowdown. I ask colleagues from the relevant ministries and agencies, as well as from the regions, to stay in constant contact with business communities, with the entrepreneurial community as a whole, to help resolve emerging issues and to respond to the requests of enterprises, companies, and their workforces. As for the federal budget, the situation here is stable. Non-oil and gas revenues of the federal budget for January to July increased by 14% year on year, amounting to 14.8 trillion rubles. At the same time, the growth of so-called turnover taxes for January to July was 6.7% compared to the same period last year, including a 6.9% increase in VAT. Well, that's what I wanted to say at the beginning. Let's get started. Let's begin our discussions and address the questions that have been raised and proposed. The floor goes to Anton Germanovich Silvanov,